Welcome to Ulti World's live coverage of the 2018 Pro Championships, coming to you from Middletown, New York. Keith Rayner joined by Patrick Stegemeller for this men's semifinal match. Revolver taking on Dig, the Bay Area powerhouse, being challenged by this young Boston squad. And they had quite a matchup yesterday, so we have high hopes for today's game as well.
That's right. Yesterday, Revolver came back from a 2-goal hole to beat Dig on double game point. It was probably the best game of the day in the men's division, and we'll see if we can get another classic here this round. One thing that Dig had a lot of success with yesterday was taking care of the deep space. They really forced Revolver to work some tough possessions with lots and lots of undercuts. See if they can do the same here.
A late comeback from Revolver, Pat, in that game, saving their record here. And really, the men's division, I think, has had a lot more intrigue than we would have anticipated coming into this club season. Revolver takes a loss at the U.S. Open to Sub-Zero. And behind them, a mix of teams that all have cases to be considered the #1 challenger to Revolver, a team that now has revealed that they have a flaw. They can lose.
Yeah, and Dig just took down one of those big contenders, Ring of Fire, absolutely smacking them in the pre-semi. So they're coming in just about as hot as they can possibly be heading into this matchup.
Underway now. Revolver in the yellows, defending. Dig in black. Mac Hecht holding the disc and resetting to Josh Cricket Marquette. Swings over to Sadok. There's a pick, I think, downfield, and you're going to get a chance to watch Sadok and Marquette, two crafty handlers, one a vet, one young, against two of the premier dump defenders in the men's division, Nathan White and Byron Liu on this point.
And it was Liu getting a huge layout block in the dump space that turned the game yesterday. See if Sadok has learned any lessons from that and has any new tricks up his sleeve.
Sadok blades around the Hecht.
Nice little trick right there.
Not a lot of upfield motion, however, for Dig. They've been forced to work mostly horizontally to start the point. Hecht with a difficult, deep look. Not enough loft on that to find Noah Backer, and an initial turn for Dig.
And that's a decent shot. Dig's cutters had been able to clear out the deep space, and there was no help coming in over the top. Just a tough throw itself, and miscue on the execution there from Hecht.
White checking it in. Under pressure. Does get that swing off, and disc all the way over to Liu, and he's taking a shot. Cohen with Johnson and Chase, but Cohen bodies him out. George Stubbs and Sawyer tops into the end zone for White, and Revolver with a tight one, but a break to start. They lead 1-0.
Cohen really smart there, not even giving Johnson a chance to make a play in the air. Johnson has been one of the stories of the tournament here for Dig, just posterizing people all weekend. Cohen uses his speed and his broad body to get in front of there. Doesn't even need to leave the ground. Revolver puts that first break on the board.
I think Johnson may have misread it a little bit. He really got on his horse to get behind Cohen, thinking that maybe that one was going to hang a little bit longer and he could beat him to the spot. But once it came a little short, at that point he then had to try and go around the big body of Cohen. Cohen using it effectively to hold off Johnson in the deep space.
Dig running it back with their O-line. Looks like it's the same personnel. They cannot let themselves get rattled here in the early going, because Revolver's the sort of team where you feel like you need a 2 or 3 goal lead early in the game if you're going to have a chance at beating them. A 2 or 3 goal hole, it's a different story.
And Dig, I'm sure, excited to get a chance to play in a big pressure spot against tight competition, because they know that's what lies ahead for them at Northeast Regionals.
That's right. It looks like Northeast Regionals could be just 2 bids, and based on how well Pony has been playing this weekend, it could be very tough.
Cricket takes the centering pass. Side stack look from Dig. Rocco Linehan around the Hecht. You can see still a lot of pressure on these downfield options for Dig. So the handlers are forced to take a lot of short throws. And a pick's going to stop play as the disc comes across to Linehan.
Seems like the disc will stay there, no effect on the pick.
Linehan finds some yardage to Marquette.
Confusion downfield. Hecht dancing in the lane a little bit. Sadok clearing. It's a mess right now for Dig's offense.
Everything happening from close to the disc. They finally gained some yards. On a continue to Nick Thompson, and now the disc in the hands of Hecht again. Breaks around to Sadok. Sadok, stall count climbing, maybe drawing a contact to reset it. He's had the disc for a long time now.
Just great jump defense here from Revolver. Dig might put this point in, but Revolver's defense has to be happy with how many throws they've forced.
And a two-handed layout grab for Linehan gets Dig on the board. Marquette on the assist, a hard-fought hold for Boston.
Nice grab to save possession, save the point there from Linehan. It's a tough throw, a lot of zip on this flick here from Marquette. You know, a lot of players may favor maybe an inside lefty backhand there, try to get a little float on it, but the window is so tight because of these athletic Revolver defenders. You have to put that much speed on the throw.
And this is, right now, this feels like Revolver, Dig's playing Revolver's game. And this is how Revolver's going to beat you. We're going to throw set of legs after set of legs after set of legs at you. We're going to wear you down with intense defense and execution on offense. And in the second half, you're just going to fold. You're just going to make a couple mistakes here and there. We'll punish you. Our legs will stay fresh. And we'll just keep on churning that way.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Revolver's like a boa constrictor. Try to beat them at your game, there's nothing you can do about it. Once you're in the clamps, that's game over.
And they'll just weigh you out. They'll just squeeze until you give up.
Get a first look here at Dig's D-line, which had a slow start to the weekend, but really picked it up against Ring of Fire in the last game. Piling on break after break.
One of the key parts of the breaks that many defensive lines for Dig have achieved is Jack Hatchett, who starts this off with a pull.
And he's no stranger to playing against Revolver. Hatchett, of course, on Ironside, and took part in many of their famous tangles with the San Francisco champs.
Antoine Davis receives it, and now taking off after giving it back to George Stubbs, has plenty of separation from Hatchett. And another give and go for Davis, every other into the end zone to get that one from Simon Higgins for the goal.
Antoine Davis has made a name for himself in the past few years, but his rise has just been meteoric. He's worked his way onto Revolver, now onto the O-line. He's become one of the best target men in the entire country.
And it feels like out of nowhere. It feels like Revolver developed this guy in a lab somewhere, which may actually be true, considering, you know, the way that this team's mentality shines through the ethos of how they try and exist.
And who knows what they're getting up to in the Bay Area these days.
There's a lot of innovation there. That's what I hear.
Revolver's D-line back at it. Seeing a lot of faces that we've seen earlier in the game, but a couple changes here. And like you said earlier, Keith, they just have so many waves of defenders. They could take all 7 of these guys off the line and have 7 other guys that could do just about the same damage to Dig's offense.
And that's long been one of the strengths and one of the factors that they used to intimidate teams, is just that depth. But, you know, we saw Sub-Zero take this team down. Pat, what did you see in that game? What flaws were exposed in Revolver?
That's tough to say, because I think a lot of what happened in Revolver's loss in that game was Sub-Zero made a ton of plays. You know, down the stretch, they were just coming up with jump balls And Revolver will be okay with that. If you want to throw jump balls against their players, you know, when Greg Cohen back there, who we've already seen show mastery of the deep space, they're going to let you do that.
So Diggs' offense trying to weather the storm here. Marquette finds Johnson. Johnson throwing to continue looking for Linehan. Rasmussen and Chase. Rasmussen beating Linehan to the spot for the block.
Just not enough edge on that throw from Johnson. You can tell when you have a disc that starts out OI and then just sort of listlessly goes back to that IO side that there was not enough rotation on it.
Rasmussen trying to show Johnson how it's done. A full field score. Rasmussen putting it to Christian Johnson. Impressive stuff from Revolver.
Yeah, plenty of rotation on that one. And that's also knowing your teammate. Christian Johnson, a real speedster. You want to get that disc out in front in a hurry and trust him to run it down. Instead of maybe for someone like Cohen, you would put a little more touch on the disc, a little more float, and trust him to make a play in the air. This is a line drive right into Johnson's breadbasket.
Johnson, it's what he's been doing for years, even all the way back to his college days at UNC. Rasmussen just depositing that one. And a second break for Revolver. They're up 3-1.
Crunch time here for this Dig O-line. If they give up another couple breaks here in the first half, this game could get out of hand in a hurry. And we haven't seen Revolver really crush anyone yet this weekend. They won their pool, getting a bye to the semifinals here, but as we talked about, they had a close game with Dig. They just had a close game with High Five, 15-13, and two 15-11 victories over Truck Stop and Sub-Zero. But we haven't seen them really showcase a complete dominant performance over the course of a game. But from what we're seeing so far here, that could be on the cards.
And you said crunch time for this Dig offense. You do not want to be at crunch time on 0.5 of a game against Revolver. That's just a lot of pressure to try and deal with over the course of a game.
Revolver showing some junk here for the first time. As though they're melding into match defense.
Backer going to work against Lior Givell. Puts Givell on the ground but has nowhere to go with the disc.
And because Revolver's downfield defense is so good, their marks have the freedom to take risks like that and not worry about immediately giving up position or a quick break throw.
I also think you see this Dig offense trying to be a little tricky right now. Players are frustrated by their inability to get open, so they're trying to find trickier ways to do that. And you see players getting a little bit confused. We've seen some double cutting by the Dig offense as they try and find just any room that they can to get the disc and gain some yardage.
Once you lose faith in your offensive system to get the job done, it's trouble. Because then players start thinking, I have to go get the disc, I have to go make a play. When you have 7 guys all doing that, a lot of wires get crossed.
Back underway with a swing to Marquette. Scoobers to the break side. Sliding catch by Sadok.
You may see more Scoobers per point from Dig than any other offense in the country. Sadok and Marquette both love to throw them. And then even some of their downfield players, Hecht and Tanner Johnson, have employed the Scoober very successfully all weekend.
Sadok cross field to Hecht to get away from the poach. But Revolver's red zone defense staying locked tight, and finally a miscommunication on a switch frees up Hecht to go up the line to catch the hold from Marquette. 3-2.
Both of Dig's converted O points have come at the cost of long, hard, grinding possessions. Credit to them for staying patient not trying anything they couldn't do. But if you're Revolver's defense, you have to be happy with the effort you're putting forth here. We've seen Revolver score on a one-throw possession the last point, and Dig has never had an opportunity to do something like that thus far in the game.
You know who he looks like?
So Dig's defense will get a second shot at trying to get some sort of mistake yanked from the tight grip of Revolver.
Get a look here at Revolver's offense. Antoine Davis, the star of the show, the last point. See if they call his number again. There's just so many options on this line. Simon Higgins, of course, Ashlyn Joy distributing from the center. Just down the line. There's no one player you can focus on taking away.
And you know, we talked about that Sub-Zero matchup and what flaws you can expose in Revolver. One is just Ashlyn Joy not showing up.
Correct.
He is here now.
And it's notable that Revolver has taken Joy out of some crucial points so far this weekend to try to get the offense used to playing without him, whether that's just insurance for this year or game planning for sometime in the near future when Joy won't be able to continue playing. It's unclear, but they've taken him out of 7-7 point for half situations like that where you need to get a hold, and they've needed to do it without Joy. Thus far, they've been successful. Of course, having Joy is just a much easier, better way to do it.
So it looks a little bit like a Dominator set for Revolver to start. Side stack, lots of room for ISO cutting and miscommunication, but Davis saves it. And Dahlman with a little flip into the end zone. Eli Friedman gets the goal, and another not exactly smooth hold, but a first possession hold for Revolver.
That was Dig's shot right there. A little miscommunication between the thrower and the cutter. But Antoine Davis, again, making a big play to save the point for Revolver. And Dig likely won't get too many more shots like that at an easy block. Of course, stopping Davis from getting a disc maybe can't be categorized as an easy block. But it's easier than a lot of what they'll see the rest of the game.
So that opportunity passes Dig by. Not sure how many of those are going to be available in the game. They're going to have to create their own opportunities. Teams fighting to advance to the final here at the Pro Championships. The winner of this game will move on to play the winner of New York Pony and DC Truck Stop. Truck Stop, one of the surprises of the tournament.
Truck Stop coming in with some real urgency, needing to get a strength bid for the Mid-Atlantic. We haven't exactly crunched the numbers yet, but it does appear as though they've taken care of business on that front. Both Dig and Revolver likely not too worried about their own strength bids, although as you mentioned before, there could be some excitement at regionals for Dig if the Northeast only has two.
Cricket fields the pole. The towering frame of Nathan White.
And that's
approaching.
A fun matchup. White, maybe with the best mark in the division against Cricket, potentially the most creative thrower in the division.
Hecht gets it around to Thompson. Thompson, ostensibly the big man on this Dig O-line. Marquette really operating as the hub of this offense. Linehan drops it off for Marquette for a loss of yardage.
Despite getting up there in years, Marquette is still very quick. Going to maybe try to take advantage of White's size by operating a little bit more as a shifty cutter.
Revolver's downfield defenders are playing really underneath, and I think that could expose high stall throws like this one. And we said he was the big man. Nick Thompson with the sky for the score.
Nick Thompson, a Cornell product, back from the Metro East glory days. He's had a big impact for Dig this weekend, offering that release valve here. But again, I think Revolver is okay with giving up that shot. They'll trust a guy like Cohen to make that play more times than not. Especially when it comes with frustrating Dig and choking off so many of those undercuts.
Yeah, so on that point, it looked like Revolver was fronting a lot downfield, particularly once cuts started initiating deep, and then having the marks help out to prevent those hucks from going up. But once the thrower turns back to the reset and moves the mark over to deny the reset, that may open up some deep options, but that's playing with fire. High stall count looks towards the end zone, and it's going to ask your cutters and your throwers to make plays. And there, Thompson able to come up with one. But you may just not be able to beat Revolver without making big plays.
That seems to be the case. We haven't seen much evidence of anyone beating them otherwise. Of course, we haven't seen much evidence of anyone beating them, period. After their loss at the U.S. Open last year to Sakai, they went an entire calendar year without dropping another game. So at that pace, Dig would be way ahead of schedule trying to pull off a win here.
Dig clogging up the initial side stack look from Revolver, kind of forcing them out of it and into some new options. Doing some switching downfield, frees up Davis for an under. Davis streaking deep, and the speed on display. Marcy's never going to pass up a look like that.
Another 0 point for Revolver, another point with Davis's fingerprints all over it. This guy is really making a case to become considered one of the top players in the game. That's a nice throw from Marcy. Marcy, nominally a handler from Revolver, but he went downfield in an attempt to break up that junk, came back, caught a big in-cut, turned around and put just a perfect throw out to Davis on a plate.
Davis so fast that one defender couldn't guard him, and I think there was a hope that they could switch off of the back, but with his being so fleet of foot, there really wasn't even time to make the switch. It's just your communication has to be almost instantaneous. And just streaking past all the defenders for a wide open huck score.
And Davis is the one who threw that in-cut to Marcy, so in some sense that was a give and go.
Another one.
Just a give and go that covered about 50 yards.
Gotta love the long give and go. And it's a great way for Davis to free up deep spaces, actually, to come from so shallow, because your mark's almost always going to be nearly step for step with you when you start. It's hard as a mark to create deep cushion. So the give and go is actually a super effective way for a player everyone's afraid of going deep to get some freedom in the deep space.
And Dig will have to communicate to prevent that from happening in the future.
So side stack from Dig, kind of casually collapsing into an offense.
Revolver okay with letting those medium gainers go to the force side, knowing that they can spring a trap once they get the disc there.
Yeah, Dig maybe 4 throws in and have gained probably about 20 yards. Sadok underneath the heck. And again, you see how these marks are taking away these dig deep options.
Sidorsky had space deep. The mark took it away, but he's able to dig to come up with the catch. Just curl one ever so nicely around a defender to Sadok for what was one of the quickest holds we've seen from this Doe offense so far.
So watch again. Sidorsky lays out for that one and then just quickly snaps around backhand to Sadok.
And it says something that Dig's easiest O point of the day so far involved a crossfield hammer off of a trap, a semi-layout off of a tough little inside. Still some work here to do from Dig's offense to really figure out this Revolver D.
So, Pat, right now there's a little battle of words, so to speak, happening between the sidelines. Last point, Antoine Davis received the disc, and from the sideline from Dig came the call, not a thrower. He's not a threat to tackle the disc, they were saying. And, of course, Davis went on to score that point. And Revolver, his teammates, picked him up, chanting not a thrower in a jeering fashion, saying, hey, this guy, you call him not a thrower, but he's torching your defense right now. Sadok scores that one, and he turns around and starts yelling not a thrower. I don't know if it's a little friendly poking or maybe the teams are looking to agitate one another.
Sadok known for having his fair share of friendly pokes in a game.
Deflected disc, another opportunity that may have just gone by the wayside as Davis gets another one after a Simon Higgins sky.
Not a great throw there, but it doesn't have to be a great throw when you've got Higgins going deep. Tough assignment there for Jack Hatchett, and the disc over his head. He wasn't able to accelerate into his jump. Higgins was, and well, the rest is history.
Look at that. Higgins just going over the top of the defense. And worth noting, Dig initially gets a deflection here. Had a shot at maybe getting a turnover, but again, an opportunity presented itself and they couldn't come up with it. Revolver gets the hold. It's now 6-4.
It's tough enough to beat Revolver when they aren't catching these little breaks on deflected discs or miscommunications. When they are, it's pretty much impossible. Of course, doesn't mean that Dig can get their heads down because they have to keep getting those deflections, causing those miscommunications, and hope that the percentages start to tilt in their factor.
Simon Higgins, such an integral part of Revolver's success over these past few seasons. I would say has probably been one of the best 10 cutters in the men's division for multiple years now, but maybe a little on a team like Revolver, it's always hard for there to be stars because they have such a deep team and they rely on that. But you hear about the Rasmussens, the Joys, Kittredge when he was on the team. They add Stubbs. There are a lot of names on the team, and Higgins maybe sometimes a second-tier player, so to speak, in how he's referenced. But, man, has he been a consistent, productive piece. Dig's offense back underway, trying to find some consistency and production of their own and turn again to the hammer for it. Johnson gets across field.
And Dig is able to get some one-on-one matchups into the deep space, but again, it's those marks from Revolver making it really tough. Sadok, handler with as itchy a trigger finger as any, looked off an open Linehan because of a no big mark.
And Sadok's been doing a lot of work downfield in this game. He started off the game playing a lot of backfield time with Marquette, but I think he, as a player who likes to dig off deep from the handler space, he has been looking to try and create some sort of advantage downfield as he's been defended by the likes of Byron Liu and now at this point Lior Givel. Backer up ahead to Marquette. Linehan. Stokes still trying to get open deep. Frees himself up on the break side.
Not quite the effort you want to see on the mark there from Cohen when Johnson had the disc. Gave that swing off the line up far too easily. Now Dig is in a good position here, attacking from the high side of the field.
Well, I think you see Dig trying to attack these marks that are flattening out to stop some of these deep looks by going side to side. Scuba from Sadok to Backer and catches that with a toe on the line, it looks like.
So quick there from Cricket. Right into the Scuba. Cricket not afraid of Revolver, of course. He was on that Ironside team that beat them in the 2016 National Championship game. And you've seen that Dig here is sort of accepting that they're going to have to try a lot of those throws out to break this Revolver defense. We saw them change the angle of attack with a hammer early in the count. We see 2 scoobers within 3 throws here for the score. And that's what Revolver is doing. They're taking away their ability to play a sort of more traditional game and making them try this tricky stuff. Of course, it's been largely working out, and Dig are still within striking distance here, down only 1.
A pair of breaks separating the two teams. Dig still looking at an opportunity. Revolver been frighteningly efficient. Just although in this game, there have only been 2 turnovers. They both turned into Revolver breaks. So both teams have been pretty stingy with the disc, although it certainly has felt like Dig has had to work a lot harder for all of their holds.
But Dig has weathered that initial storm. We talked a few points ago about how it was crunch time for their offense. Their offense pulled through, kept the game close, and now it's up to Dig's defense to really make this a tighter one.
Henry Babcock with the pull for Dig. Trying to do some work as a handler defender now and use that length. The inaugural Donovan winner 2 years ago in the men's division of D3. Joy gets up the line. And there's an error. Joy giving it away.
It looked like Friedman thought that Joy was putting that to the streaking deep cutter. Did not attack the lane. And that's a gift for Dig's defense. Hatchet with the disc. Shock in the backfield with him.
Hatchet about 5 yards off the open sideline. And a little curl cut from Chris Bartoli gets to the front cone. Marcelo Sanchez not happy about that one. And a break for Dig. They take advantage of the first opportunity they get.
3 turns, 3 breaks, and we're knotted up at 6. Dig not one to look a gift horse in the mouth, and they didn't there. Aggressively attacking up that strike sideline. And just not the heads-up awareness you want to see from Sanchez there. Let's take a look here at the turnover. Yeah, Friedman did not cut into the lane that Joy was throwing to, presumably thinking that the look was to the deep cutter. And then on the turn, Dig striking quick to tie it up.
So Revolver up a break here against Dig. 6-6 in this matchup. This is our second to last game for the live stream. We've got one more coming up for you, the mixed semifinal. But if you've been enjoying our coverage at this tournament and all season, please consider supporting UltiWorld and getting a ton of benefits from our subscription package. Lots of video, the World Club Championships, the U.S. Open, early season tournaments, the Pro Championships, Nationals to come, Regionals to come. So a lot of dramatic games still to be filmed. And you can check out all of that as well as premium content. Find out the details at ultiworld.com/subscribe.
Side stack here from Revolver's offense. Dig forcing back into the stack, but you don't see the traditional flood play. Revolver counting on the handlers to break the mark into space, which is Joy was able to do to Marcy there.
Marcy with a gainer on the inside lane to Higgins. Marcy back to Joy. Friedman just off that open sideline. Squeezes it around off to Joy. Friedman inside lane and perfectly weighted up ahead for another Antoine Davis goal. That gives him 4 in this first half.
Davis on fire, and Revolver's O as cool as can be after getting broken. You talked about that side stack. Most teams will flood there, but Revolver counts on their handlers to be able to break the mark whenever. We see another example there. That inside break flick is what they were hitting all point long. if they're comfortable hitting that throw, then Dig's going to have to change their defensive tactic about forcing into the stack, because it's just so much open space into that shallow flick space, and it's impossible for the downfield defenders to cover it all.
So timeout on the field. Right now, Dig with 6, Antoine Davis with 4, Revolver with 7.
Dig's got to be happy at this point. Given the way they started the game, with their offense looking frantic and overwhelmed, and Revolver's offense able to score in just a few throws, 7-6 here is not a bad score for Dig.
I think Dig's probably happy with the result right now. Still a chance to be in this game, and they could have easily fallen out with it. I think they might be a little concerned with the process, though, because their offense has found precious little momentum against Revolver's defense.
Again, another look at that offense right now, walking to the line.
I don't think we've seen a single change to this unit.
And
basically the same 7 the whole game.
And it has a couple additions to Dig's team this year. Of course, Marquette coming over with the swath of Ironside players who made the leap after Ironside folded in the offseason. And Tanner Johnson making the jump from the mixed division. Still with another year of eligibility left in college, which seems incredible for someone who is so effective at the highest level of club here this weekend.
Yeah, I mean, he was one of the best players and a Player of the Year runner-up in the mixed division for Slow White, I believe, last year. So, I mean, this is a guy who's got a lot of elite club acumen already. Marquette comes streaking from that side stack to get the initial gainer, but goes backwards.
You see that Revolver has moved Higgins over to the defense here to cover Johnson. That's a fun matchup.
Reset to backer. You see Dig still operating with the signature Boston no-dump offense. Some changes to the structure downfield, but in the backfield, they have trusted these handlers to be able to get off the difficult throws necessary to survive in this type of offense.
Those Revolver marks are really making them work for it. We see that was a tough throw from backer there to gain no yards. Now the disc has been moving backwards and towards the force side again.
Snoke unleashing one for Linehan. And getting to it, Marcelo Sanchez. Looked like that was going to be a Dig goal, but Marcelo Sanchez denies it. Meanwhile, a foul call. This discussion ensues between Sadok and Rasmussen.
I don't know where that call is coming from. I didn't see much on the replay there. I take it back. I did see something. I saw Marcelo Sanchez making a great play. Sanchez, who was caught sleeping at the front cone for the Dig break, making it back up there. A very nice block to give Revolver a shot at a break of their own. So it looks like the observer will be overturning the foul call, and Revolver will be picking it up with 70 to go.
Stoke, College Player of the Year 2 years ago, and Cassie Rasmussen, Club Player of the Year 2 years ago, going toe-to-toe. There, Rasmussen getting the better of them, although mostly due to the hard work of Marcelo Sanchez. Dahlman bringing it in and goes ahead to Rasmussen. Open side gainer.
Sadok calling for the switch, but no one's there.
And that blown coverage is going to take us to half. Rasmussen collects the full field backhand for Friedman. Revolver breaks 8-6.
Well, Rasmussen certainly got the better of the matchup after the turn. Sadok fronting and trying to call for a switch, but no one's home in the deep space for Dig. And Rasmussen just takes it to half at a walk. Revolver up 8-6.
So Revolver dictating this one, in control. Dig's still in it, however. So we've got a second half of Dig trying to claw back in front of Revolver, just as Revolver did yesterday when the two teams took each other on. So stay tuned for that. Teams take a 10-minute break. We'll do the same, but do not miss the second half of this Pro Championship semifinal. Welcome back to All Two Worlds Live coverage of the 2018 Pro Championships. Middletown, New York, playing host to the semifinals. Back underway for the second half. Dig trailing Revolver 6-8. Revolver receiving the pull. Ashlyn Joy taking the centering pass. Keith Rayner joined by Pat Stegemeller for the second half of this semifinal. Pat, what do you think was the big difference maker in the first half that earned Revolver this lead?
I think it was the level of effort needed for Dig to do just about anything that wore them down a little bit over the course of the half. But we see here a uncharacteristic mistake from Simon Higgins on Revolver. Just straight up turfed it. Not much more to say about it than that. And now Dig is off to the races.
A critical break opportunity here for Dig.
Brett Grammond lucky to leave that with his life after Lucas Dahlman nearly stiff arms him. Nothing malicious there from Dahlman. That's just one of those tricky upline cuts into the closing down defender space.
Yeah, a bunch of switches from Revolver there, so got a little confusing. Babcock takes the gainer. Now into the end zone. Hatchet with a break for Dig to start the second half. And don't look now, Pat, but we got a game on our hands.
And every time it looks like Revolver is pulling away, Dig's sticking around. I don't think Dig's defense can take too much credit for that turn, but they worked it well once they got the disc. Really able to win the battle at the point of attack and get those upline cuts off. Something they weren't able to do as well in the first half. Revolver's O-line's defense not quite as able to lock down on those handler cuts as its D-line defense has been able to do all game.
Turf throw by Simon Higgins. Immediately punished by Dig. And both defenses have been ruthless in this game when given the opportunity. 5 total breaks, neither D-line with a turn.
The last time Dig broke, Revolver responded, one of the most clinical offensive points of the game. We'll see if they have the same composure here.
You think we might see some Antoine Davis this point?
Well, if the first half is any indication, we will. Put up a very impressive stat line. 4 goals in just the first half. Nice pull from Dig, almost a nice pull. Joel Schlockett playing with fire a little bit there. I'm going to shimmy his way out of the disc's path. Jordan Marcy picks up and jogs to the brick mark. Marcy has had a good game so far. Overshadowed, of course, by Joy in the Revolver backfield, but he's a player who's really come up in the past couple of years.
Joy with the disc. Now Schlockett looking to the end zone for Marcy, and Marcy shifts into 5th gear and guns it in for the score.
All force side that point from Revolver, and just pure speed winning the battle on every upline. Nice cut from Schlockett coming all the way from the break side of the field into space. Putting it out on a platter for Marcy. He's able to use his impressive speed to run it down. I thought when the throw first went up that maybe it was a little too early, but Marcy had no problem corralling that. The Revolver puts out the fire right away, gets their defense back on the field.
The winner of this game will head on to the final to face the winner of Pony and Truck Stop at last count in that one. Pony up 7-6 in receiving, and it looks like they may have taken half with a hold. In the women's semis, I believe it's 9-7 right now. Scandal with a lead on Sixers, and Brute Squad in control in their matchup against Ozone. Got a mixed semifinal coming up for you next round. Hopefully it's as entertaining as that dog trying to lick that person's face.
Another great dog here on Ultiworld Live.
We may have a dog highlight reel at the end of this tournament.
There've been some good dogs here this weekend. I will say, of all the tournaments I've been to, I think this is the #1 dog tournament so far. So great job, citizens of Middletown, New York.
Yes, have had great dogs. Shout out to Lila on the sideline of the Heist team. That's a good doggo. Looking for some good dig right now. Trying to get the offense moving. The ashes of dog sprinkled across this dig side. But that's death or glory. the old Boston side.
Leave it to Keith to bring up dead dogs as soon as we try to just start making some nice lighthearted joke about the pups here. Cricket gets the reset. He's been pretty much the only reliable reset for Dig thus far. Bring that backhand space out to Hecht.
Yeah, the veteran addition to this team has been pivotal to their offensive success. Hard to imagine that they would have been able to score very frequently without his consistent reset presence.
And now he's going deep. Amazing himself even by coming up with that and then dishing for the assist, although it looks as though there might be a call.
One of the joys of cricket is not only his creative style of play, but that he always looks like he's having fun. And, you know, he goes up for that, comes down with it, turns around and says, oh, look, I caught that. What do you want from me? He is going to get the disc, not the assist yet.
Might have been a travel call. Cricket, lots of space to throw here in the end zone is a very dangerous thing. Nice hesitation cut from Misha Sidorsky there. Dig punches it in.
So a quick score after some big plays from Cricket. And it's 9-8. Revolver still leads.
And it's Cricket's throwing ability that opened up that easy four-side score. The defender on Sidorsky had to respect the entire break half of the field. Just about an impossible task.
Dig's offense continues to give their defense a chance to get them back ahead in this game.
And we've talked about how Dig has some creative options on offense, and sending Cricket deep, one of the most creative things we've seen so far. I don't think Revolver was expecting that. I don't know how sustainable it is as a game plan, but you just have to play catch 15 times sometimes to win an ultimate, and they were able to do it once there.
I don't know if that platitude's going to help this Dig team necessarily, but maybe they're turning to that now. You know, veteran leader like Cricket giving them some wise words, especially for such a young squad. Speaking of veterans, Rusty Ingold Smith in coverage as Joy comes under. Friedman, short inside throw to Marcy, and continued Antoine Davis. Just outside the end zone, so now takes the reset to Marcy. Some confusion from the defense. Leaves Revolver some wide open options, and Joy zings it into Higgins for the hold.
Yeah, a lot of miscommunication there in the end zone set from Dig's defense. First, they leave Joy completely unmarked in the middle of the field with the disc, then overreact, cover up the break side too well, and leave Higgins open on the cone. Too easy for Revolver there.
Yeah, Dig just got off balance on defense at some point during that possession, missed a switch somewhere, and just never could really recover. They just were constantly trying to make up for that initial mistake and never quite got their center of gravity back in the right spot. So back to 10-8. Back to that 2-point lead. Of course, the story of this Dig team this season was the absorption of what was left of Ironside, that team folding and sending some of its talent Dig's way. Dig, a team that was nearly advanced over the past couple of years at Nationals, deeper into the bracket, but lot of hype around this program, and there were questions about what this team could do. How high were those heights going to be this season? And regular season's been okay for Dig, not spectacular, and I would say the performance of this tournament has been really their breakthrough this season.
And it's been a tournament of what-ifs for Dig. Of course, losing to Revolver yesterday on double game point, playing a very tightly contested game against Truck Stop, yesterday afternoon that could have gone either way. Just a couple throws here and there. But they managed to scrap and claw their way into the semifinals and into another close game with Revolver.
Hecht gets it up to Sidorsky.
Dig's offense able to get these upline and undercuts to the force side more effectively than they were in the first half.
But Eli Kearns just putting the cuffs on Marquette. Gets the dump turn and then picks it up and sends it to White for a Revolver break.
All that creativity, all that cheekiness that we saw from Dig eventually was going to come back to get them, and it did on that point. Kearns read that throw all the way and then put one up of his own to White. Don't see White going deep quite as much as you'd expect for someone his size, but he certainly can when he gets up a full head of steam. It's an easy catch for White, and now an 11-8 lead for Revolver.
And Kearns just completely shutting off Marquette as a reset. The first time I think we've really seen him truly denied the disc. Tries to go up the line, nothing there. Tries to plant and come back, nothing there. And the throwback forced at a high stall situation. Excellent defense from Revolver, yielding results.
And that's a devastating moment for Dig, not only because they give up the break, but also because the thing that had been keeping them afloat in the game thus far was denied to them. Marquette's ability to get off the reset, their ability to hit those little high dishes, both of those came collapsing down on that point. And if they don't get their wits about them here, that could have been a real nail in the coffin in this game.
3-goal lead for Revolver. Dig is gone from in this game to in trouble after giving up a pair of scores.
Offside call here. Appears as though Dig was over the line. Oh, and
poor Ben Sadok and Josh Marquette think that they have given up a Callahan.
Poor Eli Kearns thinks he's scored a Callahan and is about to find out.
I thought he knew. I feel like they knew they were offside. Now there's confusion only because some people continued to let that play go on.
Do you think that was a no free twos sort of situation for Kearns, or after the foul goes off, you see someone poking the ball away from inside the basket?
Perhaps.
No free throws ever against this Revolver defense. Because now you're at least thinking about it if you're Dig.
And a couple of Revolver sideline members trying to bring some water to the line between the two poles. Shoot away by the observer. Eli Kearns sprinting down in the hopes of recreating that magic, but not to be. Hecht takes the swing, now looks deep again for Johnson, and far too low of a throw. The second time we've seen him turn over Huck with that same mechanical error.
Not a great game for Hecht. He's had an up and down weekend. He was instrumental in Dig taking the first half lead against Revolver yesterday, but the bad day here on Sunday continues for Hecht as John Stubbs roasts him deep for another Revolver break.
If I'm not mistaken, it was Stubbs taking Hecht deep. That was the break that got Revolver back in front during their double game point win over Dig yesterday. So perhaps Hecht fearing that he is stuck in a flashback right now as he sees Stubbs take off. But again, you see Hecht trying to muscle the forehand downfield, and he kind of leans over from the waist when he goes to do that, and I think it saps some of the power not able to quite torque as much with his hips, use his core to really generate some force behind that. And I think it's forcing him to short arm these forehand hucks he's trying.
Because you can see it straight from his release that it doesn't have the juice to make it all the way downfield. And some of that is the marks from Revolver not allowing the full windup that Dig is looking for here. We've been talking about it all game, and it's still true now. Revolver's defense is predicated upon taking away hucks at the point of attack, so they don't have to provide too much help over the top, and allows their downfield defenders to play really aggressive match defense.
Revolver asserting themselves in this second half. And perhaps at this tournament reasserting that they are not to be trifled with. If the division thought that there was some blood in the water after Sub-Zero's win at the US Open, they can think again.
Again, took a whole calendar year for Revolver to lose after they lost at the US Open in 2017. Based on the way they've been playing this second half, the Open division could be in store for more of the same. Nathan White here with the pull for Revolver coming out of the timeout.
Sadok back to field the pull. Offense looking to get off the field. Johnson takes off deep, and one of the most threatening deep cutters you could pick right now, but Cohen just confident the mark's going to help him. Stays underneath. Seems like we may have a forced middle. Marquette up to Heck.
Such great balance from Marquette there on his pivot. Able to throw that flick almost from a sitting position as he rotated.
Backer opened up the line, but a stall call back at the throw from Hecht.
No contest from Hecht. Revolver will pick up, looking for a third straight break.
White picks up with a sense of urgency, looking to push the pace a bit. Stubbs to Kevin Cox. And Nathan White going to jump that into the end zone, all day to do so. And Revolver basically all but putting this one to bed with a 13-8 lead and 4 straight goals.
Not a perfect throw from Cox there, but with that much space and such a wide frame from White, pretty hard to miss. And Dig just looks broken here. Heads down, walking back to the line. They were able to stick with Revolver for much of the first half with a combination of scoobers, interesting dump cuts, and duct tape. But now it looks as though Revolver has them figured out, and Dig could be in trouble here.
Well, the body language is not positive, and I'm not sure quite what the discussion is, but all of Marquette, Sadok, and Backer talking to the observer after that stall call. Not sure what the topic of discussion is, but you know, it's a little concerning after conceding 3 straight breaks that the offense's focus is on the observer.
And not on how easily they gave up the transition goal there.
Absolutely.
Cox completely uncovered when he received the disc, throwing to a completely uncovered White in the end zone.
And you know, I think it goes to show this is pretty textbook Revolver, right? Not you know, tight first half, tons of pressure defense. Sure, you get some holds, but you had to work for all of them. And in the second half, things just start to fall apart because Revolver continues the pressure even as your legs start to wear down. And it's not just physically exhausting to play against them, it's mentally exhausting to have a guy breathing down your neck on every cut and feeling like every hold was a narrow one. D-line out for an 0 point here. Babcock taking the disc to the middle of the brick mark. Hatchet. Up ahead to Linehan, and it comes out of his hands, bounces off the back of his defender, and he catches it on the second effort. Now looking deep for Babcock with separation. And a much-needed hold for Dig. A little theatrical, but it works.
Linehan figuring if he can pull off a circus catch like that, might as well throw a perfect inside-out flick to space.
You know, when you're hot, you're hot.
And that's tough for Christian Johnson, doing everything right on defense. No hands on the back of his torso, though.
Revolver Labs hasn't figured that out yet. Haven't quite developed the technology for the torso hands.
All right, Diggs' defense coming out now with one last chance to make this a game. You have to think that if they're going to get back into this, the breaks need to start coming now. We saw them get a break to start the half when Simon Higgins inexplicably threw a flick straight into the ground. We haven't seen them do much to actively stop Revolver at any point this game.
Yeah, Revolver's had 2 turnovers, and both of them seemed fairly unforced. No blocks for the Dig defense. Their one block was or no, they do have one block. They do have one. Excuse me. I don't want to discredit the interception by Ben Field in the first half. Joy takes the centering pass. Horizontal look from Revolver and creates a deep opportunity for Schlockett, but Field showing some recovery speed and attacking the disc. If Dig looked defeated, I don't know if Ben Field got the memo.
A mistake from the Dig defense actually gives them the opportunity to get that block. Schlockett was totally alone, but just a little bit too much float on that disc. He was a little bit deep when the throw went up. Field able to recover, get the block. And now Diggs got a chance to get back into the game. Some stoppage here. Looks like an injury was taken, allowing Tanner Johnson to get back on the field. Ashland Joy matching up on him.
Ben Field gets the block and takes the injury sub. Willie Stewart bringing the disc in. Frederick Bross getting it ahead. Disc bouncing quickly among the handlers. But still playing in a small box. Cross up line to Ingold Smith. Great counter cut by Stewart coming under after Bartoli creates some room for him. Cross field. Cross to Ingold Smith. Spencer Diamond holding. Finds Bartoli in the middle of the field. Great opportunity here for this D-line, who's looking somewhat composed. But high stall count. Diamond squeaks free. Bartoli up ahead, and a break for Dig right when they needed one. Spencer Diamond up the line.
Pulling it back to within 3 here. That was good patient offense from Diggs D-line. And we saw again they got a break somewhat similar in the first half, the first point of the second half, where they were able to really work those strike cuts up the line. Revolver's offense inequipped to prevent them. Seems as though they have found a little bit of a weakness here. Revolver's O-line defense needs to focus on taking away those strike cuts.
Timeout here from Revolver, responding to the Dig break by taking a few extra seconds. Looks like that's mostly just going to be with the group on the line. So it felt like Revolver was about to pull away in this game. Dig earns the break to potentially get back into it, Pat. What does Dig have to keep doing in order to add on to that, to get back into this game and potentially get back in front?
Well, they haven't been able to string 2 consecutive breaks together, which they'll have to do if they want to win this game. And it's going to start with that defense. That was the first block that they've forced essentially the entire game. The first one that they got earlier was off of a miscommunication. You're going to have to start doing more of that because you can't rely on Revolver to just give you the disc over and over again.
George Stubbs a bit overly aggressive with that deep throw. Not something that he's been shy about during his career, particularly since joining Revolver. I think he's become a more aggressive deep thrower.
And that's one of those huck turnovers you see when a player is almost too open. Because of the blown coverage, Schlockett was totally alone, but he was so deep downfield already that it made for a tricky throw from Stubbs, which allowed the Dig defender to make up ground. I don't know if I would recommend Dig intentionally leaving players open for the rest of the game, but, stick with what works.
Hey, you got to get creative against Revolver. We'll see if they have any creativity on defense. It's been pretty honest person to person, although teams have been tinkering here with different types of forces, different positioning. Friedman. Over to Higgins.
Friedman unable to get that deep shot off because his teammate ran through his throwing radius coming up from behind.
Joy up the middle. Back to Friedman. Some help from off of Marcy. Trying to clog things up a little bit, so maybe some of the changes that we're seeing from this defense, but Joy gets up the line anyway. Joy to work with Dahlman, and that's beautiful. Dahlman into the end zone for Joy for the hold, and that makes it 14-10 Revolver.
Joy with some break in case of emergency handler movement there to quell any noise about Dig getting back into the game. Abusing his defender there, going every other in the end zone. And you see the value of Ashlyn Joy. It's no mystery why Revolver has lost games without him over the past few years. He is probably the single most important player in the men's division.
I think Jimmy Mickle might have something to say about that. But open to debate, perhaps?
I suppose that's where you get into the valuable versus important versus best argument. But I'm excited to find out the rest of the season if we do get a Pony Revolver matchup.
Well, we could have one of those coming up tomorrow, should things hold. Pony took half on Truck Stop in the other semi. Give us a chance to see if we can get you a couple score updates. You know, in the women's division, Scandal up 13-9 on Sixers. Try and keep you up to date as we get more information.
Tanner Johnson again getting an in cut.
But yardage still at a premium for Dig. Hecht looking deep for Johnson. And with the backhand, able to get a lot more power behind that one and frees up Johnson. Now, though, looking for anything, and Sadok plants and goes up the line. Johnson hits him, and the college teammates get a hold.
Fantastic footwork there from Sadok on that upline cut. Committed to the fake with his whole body and had the foot speed to send his defender the wrong way. Good patience from Johnson there to trust his teammate to get open. The end product is Sadok easing to the cone. It's game point here for Revolver. Dig's defense needs to conjure something if they want to keep this one going. As you noted, Keith, it has been mostly person defense so far. And at the end of games in crunch time, it's tough to go away from what you do best. Because there's the natural tendency to want to go down shooting, playing your own game. But it might not be a terrible idea for Dig to try to throw a little bit of junk in the system.
They've done a little bit of poaching to try and stop any Revolver initiating side stack plays. But, and they've done some poaching here and there to try and help on the open side lane, but mostly pretty honest.
Revolver coming out in side stack. Joy flashing into the lane.
And they force into the stack. Classic strategy to defend the side stack.
Revolver, again, refusing to flood. Taking advantage of all that break space.
Davis resets to Marcy. Nice inside break up to Sanchez as Revolver transitions.
And Dig needs to tighten up on those insides, maybe flatten out their mark a little bit. Force them to throw those arounds where the sideline is more of a factor. Maybe it pops up in the air a little bit like that.
Schlockett retrieves that high throw from Stubbs. Dig doing a nice job here on defense. Denying a lot of easy options for Revolver, and if they play defense like this all game, we might be looking at a very different score. Stubbs.
Some crowding in the handler space here for Revolver. Not something you usually see from such a disciplined team.
Joy over to Davis. Short throw to Cohen. Sanchez resetting to Joy and goes right back to him. Forces him to leave his feet for it, but and there a little bit of a miscommunication. Sanchez gives it away in the red zone.
And that's what forcing a lot of throws as a defense can do for you.
Babcock zinging through, and now Hatchett with a gorgeous throw to Bartoli. Davis giving up on that one after seeing the flight path. And it can be tough to take Davis out of a play in the deep space, but that throw was of the quality necessary to do just that.
And Dig refuses to roll over. You saw some really great effort from them on defense there. Sanchez saving possession with that grab, but then short-arming the throw to Joy. Of course, every time that Dig has managed a break in this game, Revolver has been right there. Some very nice offense to counter.
And, you know, again, another turnover without a block. But I think that helps illustrate the contrast between an unforced error that doesn't involve a block or does involve a block and a forced error that doesn't involve a block. So the pressure of Dig's defense, you could see setting up a situation where Revolver made a mistake perhaps that more caused by the defense than the first block that they got, the interception by Ben Field on the miscommunication.
Another timeout called here.
I think the teams are arguing over who took the timeout, but in a fun way. Worth noting, 3 breaks for Dig in this game. Chris Bartoli handed all of those. Scored 2 of them, both from Hatchet, and tossed the other one.
Bartoli's had a great weekend for Dig. He got a huge bookends in their final pool play game against Sub-Zero that essentially put them in the bracket to begin with, giving them the chance to knock off Ring and take on Revolver here.
Pardon me, Dig with 4 breaks. Bartoli involved in 3 of them. Missed one, the half opening break.
And
but regardless.
And I believe the D-line's conversion rates are 100% this game.
Yeah, I don't think the defense has given the disc back yet.
Very clinical offense from the defense. Maybe just a case of some poor defense from O-lines. Particularly seemed as though Revolver's O-line defense has been lacking.
It's interesting because, when you're on defense, you get a little bit of ability to dictate the style of play. You pick the matchups. You pick what kind of defense you're going to use. But when you're the offense now transitioning to defense, as we see Joy taking a shot for Schlockett, that puts this one away. It's going to wrap it up and send Revolver to the final.
After a break, Revolver dials up Ashlyn Joy's number. He seemingly always answers. Perfect backhand huck. Absolutely on a platter to Schlockett. No one else had a shot at it. And Revolver moves on to the finals here in New York.
Not the most surprising result, but Dig with some signs of life, and I imagine some positives to take away from this one. Revolver even has some things that they will probably look at to work on, but these 2 teams both have to feel solid about their weekends. The Revolver will advance to the final to play the winner of Pony and Truck Stop. That's going to do it for this game. For Pat Stegemiller, I'm Keith Rayner. Final here, Revolver 15, Dig 12. We've got a mixed semifinal coming up in just a bit. ultiworld.com/live to follow along with our coverage this weekend. Hopefully we will see you there. Thanks, folks.